Yes, please. James, do you want- Yep. Everyone's good? Yep. Shanna Gamble, Bureau of Meteorology. A flood watch remains current for much of the Northern Territory top end, but particularly focused on the northwest coast of the top end. And I can't emphasise enough that within this flood watch area, any river, creek, lagoon, billabong, any waterway is going to be very, very responsive to heavy falls that can occur. We're expecting in the Darwin and extended area around 20 to 40 millimetres of rain, but we do have the chance for isolated heavy falls, particularly with slow moving thunderstorms. And we really saw this yesterday afternoon and into the evening, where we had a severe thunderstorm warning for the Darwin rural area, which saw around 150 to over 200 millimetres fall in a very short amount of time and cause extensive flooding, localised flooding in the rural area. The Darwin area also had another thunderstorm come through in the early hours of this morning, again adding to those rainfall totals. Overnight, we also had a severe thunderstorm warning for a line of storms that was coming through the Mataranka and Katherine area, and those rainfall totals were over 100 millimetres, which on an ordinary week or an ordinary evening, that rainfall total would not cause significant flooding, but it has resulted in some upgrades to some of our warnings, which I'll quickly run through. So Adelaide River at the township is currently at around 10.4 metres and rising, and we expect minor flooding is possible during this afternoon. The Waterhouse River at Beswick Community has peaked during this morning just below the major flood level, and it is now slowly dropping away there at Beswick. But again, with additional rainfall, we could expect renewed rises. The Katherine River, importantly, we saw the warning for the Katherine River Bridge downgraded yesterday evening to a minor flood warning. However, with that line of storms that came through, we've seen that brought back up to a moderate or major flood as well, possible for Katherine River. So at the Nitmaluk Centre, minor flooding is occurring and it is steady at around 4.9 metres. At the Katherine Bridge, minor flooding is occurring and it's at 16.17 metres and falling, but moderate flooding is possible at the Katherine River this evening. So the moderate flood level is 16.5 metres. And finally, the Daly River community of Nauyu is still experiencing major flooding at that location, and is expected to continue rising throughout this week. And again, with this pulse of water that continues to be rejuvenated in the upstream locations, that will contribute to increased river rises at Daly River. So we are looking at a very significant flooding event at the Daly River community. So during the rest of today, we are expecting widespread rainfall totals of around 20 to 40 millimetres. Heavier rainfall totals above 100 millimetres are possible, and that kind of rain, especially in a short amount of time, can definitely result in localised and flash flooding. As we look towards the rest of the week, this trough that has been bringing such heavy rainfall does persist across the top end. But the more central area of the low pressure system is moving slowly southwest and will eventually move out of our area. But really for the rest of the week, we do still have rainfall occurring in the top end, isolated heavy falls with thunderstorms and localised flooding possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everyone. As we released a media release earlier at 4:30 yesterday afternoon, the pumping station and associated equipment at Darwin River Dam shut down. That was totally expected. The protection systems we have in place, what had happened was the Darwin River itself, there was a flash flood. It filled into the area where the pumping station is, and so the protection systems shut in the pumping station. Late last night, we issued a media statement asking members of the public to reduce their water consumption as a contingency while we activate our contingency plans for the Darwin River Dam. That includes increasing or maximising the production from our bore fields in the urban areas, and the main primary contingency we have is to ship in temporary generators and run the pump stations off the temporary generators. We've finished work repairing the road, or I'll call it a track, because we've had to use a back track to get into the Darwin River Dam. That's taken quite an amount of time. We've deployed 6 trucks, 2 with very heavy generators, which will be connected to the pump station to resume pumping. Once that work starts, or once they get into the site, they'll then have to assess the state of the pumps and connect the temporary generators to do that. Overnight, we, as I said, we requested that reduction in consumption by both mums and dads and commercial businesses. To all of the mums and dads and to all of the commercial businesses who've already heeded that message and started to reduce consumption, we express our sincere thanks and your patience as we work through this. What we are seeing, though, is that demand hasn't, or consumption hasn't dropped sufficiently. So we have to implement a new contingency measure. This is a very fast-moving situation, as you can imagine. The contingency measure is to change the direction and reduce the pressure of water that comes through the pipes and ultimately out people's taps. So from this afternoon onwards, members of the public will experience a reduced water pressure when they turn water on. They will also notice discoloration in the water when it comes through the taps. You'll be aware the Department of Health has issued a boiled water for drinking purposes. The water is, as I said, will be potentially discoloured. It's safe to shower in. The Department of Health's boiled water is a precautionary measure before you use it for drinking. So we absolutely reach out to Territorians. We're renowned for leaning into extreme weather events, which this is, and ask everybody to reduce their consumption. You can do it in really simple ways. So if you're brushing your teeth, turn the tap off. If you can defer doing laundry or bulk laundry, do that. Please turn your sprinklers and irrigation off with the amount of rain that's falling at the moment. There's just no need to be watering your gardens. That will make a huge difference. So once again, we reach out to all residents in Darwin and all businesses to support us as we work through this. Thank you, Commissioner.
Acting Commissioner Travis Wurst and the Territory Controller. Just going to provide an update in relation to each of the locations that are currently impacted by the weather event that is ongoing across the top end. So the Beswick community, as we heard, has been impacted by the Waterhouse River again overnight. With that river dropping, all the community members that normally live in Bottom Camp are still secure in Top Camp with family. That community doesn't need to be evacuated. They are safe, they do have sufficient supplies, and there are police still in the community supporting that community. So for the time being, we'll maintain a watching brief on the community members of Beswick. In relation to Katherine, so the water level has continued to recede, even though there has been that rainfall we've heard, and that has reduced some of that water recession. There is still a number of storms that have occurred and will continue to occur, and what has happened is that has caused the road surface in some of the areas, particularly south of Katherine and just north of Katherine, to delaminate and become damaged. And that has impacted on the ability for traffic to flow freely. There are some road closures in place. There are permits being issued for critical goods and emergency vehicles to move in and out of Katherine. There is a truck, for example, that is currently travelling from Darwin to Katherine with critical goods. Once that arrives at that location, an assessment will be made to see whether that truck is able to travel across that section of road, which is just to the north of Katherine. If it cannot, then we will unload that particular truck and we'll move those items into Katherine one by one effectively. That food and those critical goods are for the shelters and also for the supermarkets. In relation to the communications in Katherine, they're working today to get all of communications up and running. That is very much contingent upon power coming back on. There are a number of government businesses that are now operating in Katherine, particularly in the CBD. There is one particular building that is still water affected, but all other businesses, I understand, including the bakery, are all operating. There is a survey team that is continuing to work in and around Katherine. There are still houses that are water affected and surveying is ongoing. I understand that we also have surveying happening today in some of the outlying communities, including Binjari. Moving across to Daly River, as we've heard, the update is that the water is still rising. The community members are still sheltering in Darwin and will manage those community members for as long as required in Darwin to make sure that they are safe in this location and we can get them back home soon. The same applies for Palumpa. In relation to Darwin, so an update in relation to the way in which we're managing the weather that occurred overnight and the impact that's had particularly on the roads and some of the infrastructure in the rural area. So the Darwin Local Emergency Committee is managing that primarily. That includes working with the relevant councils, Kamali and Litchfield councils, to manage road closures. There are a number of roads that are closed or impassable for two reasons. One, there's either water over the road or the road has been damaged as a consequence of the fast-flowing water from yesterday and overnight. Please be really careful on those roads out there. If you don't need to travel, don't. There are a number of people that unfortunately are stuck and haven't been able to come into Darwin today. We expect the water to continue to recede. However, as has been indicated, if there is storms this afternoon and there is water that falls in certain areas, there is expected to be stream rises again. That could lead to road closures. As my colleague from Emergency Services said yesterday, do not be a floodwit. Do not go into the water. If it's flooded, forget it. Please stay out of the water. Our emergency services are working extremely hard across the whole of the top end to keep everybody safe. And if you are silly enough to go into the water and you draw us away from what we should be doing to keep you safe, then that is on you. And please be more careful, be more considerate. In relation to the support we're providing to the Power and Water team from a Territory Emergency Management Committee meeting, where we're supporting them from that committee in relation to the decisions around how we manage the situation with the reduction in water supply over the next 48 hours. We have contingencies in place, as you've heard, and we're really comfortable that all that can be done is being done. We have other plans and processes in place as required. There's no need for any of that at this point in time, but we'll continue to work with our Power and Water colleagues to make sure that we can restore order as it would be. Please adhere to the warnings around boiled water. There's clear reasoning from that that's come from the Department of Health, from their Chief Health Officer, around just a precautionary measure to make sure that if you are drinking it, it is safe. The last thing we need is people to unfortunately fall ill. The last thing I'll say is please continue to listen to the media messaging that is coming from Secure NT. That is the singular point of information that you should be adhering to. There's been certain things on social media over the last 24 hours, some of which has been inaccurate. That's unhelpful. Please rely on the information that comes from the Emergency Operations Centre because that is the most accurate, up-to-date and the most reliable piece of information you should be actioning for yourself and your families.
If that's the source of information you're asking people to follow, why has there been no information on Secure NT about the Darwin water issue, about the boil alert that went out? The only information being put out about those issues is on Facebook. Why is it not coming through the channels that you're asking people to use?
I believe it is, and if it hasn't prior to commencing this particular press conference, it will be whilst we're engaged in this process.
Well, I can tell you there's been nothing. There's been nothing all day from Secure NT. Nothing.
I'll follow up on that. That's not my understanding, but I have our media team with us in the room and we'll follow that through. Thank you.
Can you talk us through exactly what a boiled water alert looks like? Can we shower? Can we brush our teeth?
So simply, boiled water is for drinking and for cooking, baby formula if you need to mix baby formula, and also for brushing your teeth. Everything else you can shower and use that water in any other way that you need to. Thank you.
How water, if that's all right.
Of course. Yes.
What's the risk here if our water consumption for some reason isn't reduced? Is there a bigger risk? What could happen?
No, we're confident that we can rely on Territorians to heed our request that they reduce their water consumption, including mums and dads and big corporates and industrial customers.
Do you have any idea how long this reduction in water consumption should last for?
The Chief Minister earlier today said 1 to 2 days. That's what we're working to restore the operation of the pump station within that time.
And what happens if it's not restored within that time?
We have a secondary backup option, which is the overhead electrical infrastructure on site is still there undamaged. It's been turned off given the water inundation that happened. If for whatever reason we can't use the temporary generators, then we'll connect the power from the overhead power system to the pump. So we've got a backup to that.
So those motors in the pump station, have they been destroyed, or will they be able to be replaced?
At this stage, we can't be certain. Teams are on site inspecting the pumps and seeing what the position is. We're confident that the pumps can be started. The way they're configured, the power can be connected from the top and they can be started.
But that will just be a temporary fix, is there?
That'll be a temporary fix. We'll have to do a more thorough survey of the damage to switchboards and other equipment that connects the pumps to see what the longer term solution, permanent solution will be. The other part is that we have work on building a new pump station at Darwin River Dam. That work scheduled to be completed by the end of August as well.
And has that new pump station, has that been flooded as well?
There was flooding in that area as well, yes.
Has that been built in an appropriate area, that new pump station?
What we've said, this is unprecedented. We've never seen the Darwin River overflow its banks in that area and reach where the pump station is, so we'll need to reconsider what options are there to further mitigate the risk of this event if it occurs again,
So
if we have another weather event.
You may need to move the new pump station to a different location.
There'd be a range of options. I doubt it'd be moving the pump station. It would be, we'd look at other options to protect it from overflow from the Darwin River.
The pump station went down at 4:30 last night. Why was there no communication until 9 p.m, and why has there still been no communication through any official channel other than Facebook?
As I said, the alarms went off at 4:30 and stopped it. We had to get people to site. Our priority was to get them there safely. When they got on site, I think there was about half a metre of water around the pump station and surrounding buildings. Clearly, our priority was safety of our workers and anybody else that was on site. We couldn't actually get into site to get a clear picture of what was happening. We ended up doing it via a helicopter bypass, which gave us the information. We then connected with the Emergency Operations Centre and the Territory Emergency Management Committee to talk about options, and then we got the press release out through Secure NT.
Was there a press release?
Media statement last night.
I don't think that there has been a single press release about any of this that's gone out through Secure NT. I haven't seen it.
Just a couple of questions for Russ. Do you have any idea of the extent of damages in places like Beswick and Daly River at the moment?
Well, the water is still rising in Daly River. I flew over it yesterday, and I can tell you that there's probably not too many houses there that are not currently affected by water. That's going to take quite a while for the water to recede, and we do our surveying as per our normal process. In relation to Beswick, similarly, as the water has come back up into some of that lower camp area, we need to wait for that water to again recede, and then we'll do the surveying and we'll make good for those houses and allow people to eventually move back in. That will all take some time.
You said that you did a couple of rescues for people in cars yesterday. Do you know how many rescues you had to do?
I didn't say that, but Northern Territory Police did have a scenario yesterday afternoon where a vehicle was swept off one of the roads in the rural area, and due to the rising water, again, that is why I ask everyone to heed the warning of do not enter the water if you don't know how deep it is in particular. Police and other people within the area from the rural area all pitched in, provided an environment that allowed those people to get safely to the bank, and they were rescued. I believe there was 2 people in the vehicle. Thank you.